Some students have difficulty factoring trinomials, so I'm going to give another method of factoring called the AC method that may take out some of the guesswork involved with factoring by methods you may have learned already. This method involves writing the trinomial in ax squared plus bx plus c form and using factoring by grouping in the process. If you aren't familiar with factoring by grouping, make sure you see the video on factoring by grouping. For example, if my polynomial is 4x squared plus 12x plus 5, then I can see that a is 4 and c is 5. The AC method involves multiplying a times c to get the product. Then we write down all the pairs of factors of 20 of that product, including the negatives that multiply to give us that product. The middle term of the trinomial is 12x. We want to find the pair of factors that give us a sum of 12. And 2 and 10 give us that sum of 12. I want to rewrite this expression, changing 12x into 2x plus 10x that I found from the pairs of factors. Then we factor by grouping, pairing the first two terms together and the last two terms together. In the first two terms we can factor out 2x, leaving the other factor as 2x plus 1. In the last two terms we can factor out 5, which would give us the other factor of 2x plus 1. I then have two parts of this expression that both share a common factor of 2x plus 1, with the other factor being 2x plus 5. So we've finished our factoring of that polynomial. Back in this step, it didn't matter if I wrote down these two terms as 2x plus 10x or 10x plus 2x, I'll still get the same answer. Let me run through that with you to show you that that actually works. Starting with the same problem, but rewriting 12x as 10x plus 2x. Then if we factor by grouping, I can factor out 2x from the first two terms and factor 1 out of the last two terms, and I have two parts that both share 2x plus 5 as a common factor. If I factor that out, my other factor is 2x plus 1, and I have the same factoring that I did before. If you want to check this, you can multiply these two factors to see if they equal 4x squared plus 12x plus 5. Let's look at the second example. In this case, a is 8 and c is negative 3, to give us a product of negative 24. I'll list all the pairs of factors of negative 24. 1 times negative 24, 2 times negative 12, 3 times negative 8, or 4 times negative 6. Also the negatives, negative 1 times positive 24, negative 2 times positive 12, negative 3 times positive 8, and negative 4 times positive 6. The middle term is 5x. We want the pair of factors that give us a sum of 5. Negative 3 and positive 8 will give us positive 5. So let's write the expression, changing 5x into negative 3x plus 8x, and factor by grouping. Pairing the first two terms together, we can factor out x. Factoring the last two together, we can factor out 1. We have two parts that share 8x minus 3 as a common factor. If I factor that out, I have x plus 1 as the other factor. You may want to try the same problem interchanging the 8x and the negative 3x, and you should get the same answer. Let me give you a practice problem. Pause the video, factor using the AC method, and come back to check your answer. In this case, A is 4 and C is 3. So if we list all the factors of 12, 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4, or negative 1 times negative 12, negative 2 times negative 6, negative 3 times negative 4, the middle term is negative 8x, so we want a sum of negative 8, which we can get from negative 2 and negative 6. If I rewrite negative 8x as negative 2x minus 6x in either order, then I can factor by grouping. In the first two terms, factor out 2x. In the last two terms, I'm going to factor out a negative 3, which will give me 2x minus 1, so that the 2x minus 1s are the same in both parts. Factoring 2x minus 1 out from each part, my other factor is 2x minus 3. And again, you may want to try interchanging these and seeing if it comes out with the same factors. One more practice problem. Pause the video, factor by the AC method, then come back to the video to check your answer. In this case, A is 6 and C is negative 9, which gives us a product of negative 54. If list the pairs of factors of negative 54, we have 1 times negative 54, 2 times negative 27, 3 times negative 18, and 6 times negative 9. Or negative 1 times 54, negative 2 times 27, negative 3 times 18, or negative 6 times 9. And middle term is 53x. We want the pair factors that add up to 53. Negative 1 and 54 will do that. So let's rewrite the expression changing 53x into negative x plus 54x minus 9 and factor by grouping again. I can factor x out of the first two terms and factor 9 out of the last two terms. Common factor of 6x minus 1 in both parts, with the other factor being x plus 9. And again, you can try this by interchanging the order 54x minus x and see that you get the same factoring. The AC method is a nice method that takes out some of the guesswork involved in factoring by other methods. It works well, especially if you know the factoring by grouping. It worked well for this problem in which we had several factors for the 6 and the 9. Feel free to use any method that you choose to factor, though, but this is just one more option for you.